Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and our partners exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. We have a double feature today because today is April the 15th, which is, of course, Tax Day, and it is also Patriots' Day in New England, where we celebrate the Minutemen repelling the aggression of the Redcoats. So there's going to be a double feature. This first session is going to be on taxes, render unto Caesar, and then number 74, episode 74, will be about Patriots' Day and how important it is to have the right to revolution. So we're going to talk about taxes. One of the most quoted verses from the Bible is render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. And if you grew up in church, as I did, this was quoted all the time, and it was your Christian duty to pay your taxes, kind of right up there with the Ten Commandments. It was one of those things that you just do as an obedient, law-abiding citizen. And I've been thinking about that since I was a little kid. It's one of those verses I wish wasn't in the Bible, because I think it can be so misused by people in authority. And it begs the question, what is Caesar's? What belongs to Caesar? Well, we'll talk about what belongs to God in a different podcast, but what belongs to Caesar is an open question, and the truth is everything does not belong to Caesar. Thus, some things are off limits to Caesar and off limits to taxation. Now, I just want to play with my cards facing up, as always, and let you know that I don't believe in taxes. I don't think it's the best way to run a society. I'm a voluntarist. I think that everything should be done by voluntary action, voluntary contribution, and I don't believe in coercion. I don't think coercion is in line with natural law. I believe the only time that you can use force is to stop someone from coercing, and that's not a preemptive strike. That is literally to stop coercion from happening as it happens. I don't believe that you can remove the threat of coercion by coercion. I don't think that's a great idea. I think that leads to all kinds of international meddling and the removal of all risk from our society. So I believe in voluntarism. I think that the model for that is the church. The church is run by voluntary contributions. People can give if they want to. And I believe our society should be that way also. You think, no, you got to have taxes. You got to force people to pay taxes, otherwise they wouldn't. Well, that's kind of the whole point. If people wouldn't, then it's probably not worth it. In the church, we have to convince people that what we're doing is worth their contribution. And then as long as we are able to maintain credibility on that, people continue to give. So, that being the case, I believe that we shouldn't have taxes. Well, you say, we need to. Well, what if we said in church you would have to give a certain amount, otherwise we'd punish you? Well, that would be wrong. Well, why would it be wrong? Well, if it's wrong in church, it's wrong everywhere. Wrong is wrong. I don't think that anyone has a right to anyone else's property for any reason. But we live in a real world. We're not going to live in a voluntarist world anytime soon in the next few weeks, certainly. But I do believe that there is realism. There will be taxes. So if there's going to be taxes, let's at least have some boundaries. And the boundaries are this. Everything does not belong to Caesar. And if some things belong to us, then they are not taxable. If you have something, if everything is taxable, then nothing belongs to us. And I think we need to start with property. I do not believe that it is moral to tax property. I believe it's a form of theft. Now, granted, I don't like tax at all, but if we're going to have taxes, let's tax something other than property. Why is that? Because the power to tax is the power to destroy. And also, when you tax something, then you basically assert ownership over it. For instance, let's say I have a car, and the government says, you're going to pay a tax on this car, which is true. They do have a tax, which is called a license. But let's say that there was a property tax on your car. and other than the license, just a real property tax on your car. And let's say that you don't pay it. Well, if you don't pay it, what happens? You forfeit the car. Of course you do. Well, if that's the case, then really, who's the owner of the car? Is it you or the government? Well, it's the government. Caesar owns the car, and you rent it from him. And if you don't pay the rent, you get evicted from the car. Now, this is why it's so important that you, the listener, understand that property is a natural right. It's a natural right. It's not a legal right. It's not granted to us by the government. It's a natural right, much as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have a right, 100%, to everything that you own. The work of your hands, the profit that you make, belongs to you and to no one else. You have several choices with what to do with your property. You can keep it. You can give it away. You can donate it. You can throw it away. You can discard it. You can sell it. You can exchange it for something else. But nobody can lay claim to that, because if they lay claim to it, as we do with property taxes, then in effect we're saying that Caesar owns it and that you rent it. And a natural right then ceases to be a natural right, and ownership is a farce. So I don't believe in property taxes at all. And if we're going to start somewhere with the elimination of taxes, I believe that we should start with the elimination of property tax. That includes, of course, inheritance tax. The whole idea that the government can tell you what to do with your money is ridiculous. You have a choice when you own something with a will to give it away, to throw it away, to exchange it, to sell it, to keep it, whatever you want to do. Of course, you can't keep it when you die. But you have a choice. And if the government says, no, it's our choice what to do with it, we get a piece of that. Whether or not you like it, we're just going to take it. That would be called, my friend, theft. And it's something which is not moral in any context. So render unto Caesar that which is Caesar, render unto God that which is God's. And there are some things that simply do not belong to Caesar. And if we're going to start with one thing, that would be my property and your property. Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.